Evening, you lovely people. Hope you're well. Big up the channel, big up the chat, big up everybody watching, and big up our guests, man. Big up Henry and Sean. Welcome to the channel for the first time, man. How are you, Sean?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I was just saying, I've just got over a bit of the COVID and stuff, and I'm fighting fit again. I'm feeling better for it. So yeah, I appreciate the invite, and it's good to be with you guys today.
Yeah, big up, man. Thanks for coming on, Henry. What are you telling me? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Pleasure as always. Going to be talking about our title charge, and yeah, talking about if we win against Luton and you boys draw, we're top for a couple of weeks. So it's not all bad, is it, mate? It's not all bad.
Yeah, man. That's what obviously you guys are hoping. Judges, how are you, mate? You had a bit of a rant with me yesterday, but it's all calm now. Is it calm and storm?
All calm now. Like got over it. Like just I mean, thinking about it, still, a little bit peeved. Not so much with the result, just not resting Saka was incredible. Like I mean, so but listen, I'd rather be in it than not. You know what I mean? Some people were watching EastEnders, weren't they? Like, you know what I mean? And so and supporting and having French bread and croissants for their breakfast and lunch. You know what I mean? There you go. Like, so.
Quality, man. I love it. Listen, I want to start, boys, with England, and I don't want to start talking about England in the long term, but the Saka stuff is pretty obvious. So he's been selected by Gareth Southgate, which I assumed he would be. We don't have a clue at the moment whether he's fit at the weekend or not. But I wanted to ask you, lads, from a Spurs perspective, where you are with this, because it don't take Einstein to work out that this lad has played a lot of football. I think it's 89 games now consecutively that he's played. He looked like he was knackered when he came off of the North London derby a couple of weeks ago, and then he played again at Bournemouth, which everyone was surprised with, limped off, and then he lines up against Lons. Now, I was really hoping that we'd rest him so that he's fit for the Sunday game, which of course is bigger than the Lons game, right? But obviously he weren't. Now, he's been crocked, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, Henry, because for me, the manager's got to take a look at himself here, because this is big L, mate. Big L as far as I'm concerned, bro.
We had a similar situation with Harry Kane. He kind of had to play every single game because we didn't have the cover. And it's not that we run him into the ground, but there was a 4 to 6 month period where he was scoring goals, but his performances weren't the Harry Kane we know. And I fear for Saka. I think, what is he? I don't know, 21, 22, 23, something like that. 89 games consecutively. And I don't feel that you've got cover. You could play Nelson out there, but similar to what we had with Kane, the cover's not, the level you're going to bring in. But I think, just on England, if Gareth Southgate plays him, then if I was Arsenal, I'd be going absolutely mad. But the caveat to that is, Arteta has seen him now walk off, limp off, and still played him. At least when Harry had a bit of was holding his ankle, it'd only play like 40, 60 minutes, and we'd have to bring him off. Like, Saka's 89 consecutive games is absolutely ridiculous. With no, look at the likes of Salah. When Salah's not 100% fit, they will just play someone else. You boys can't. And if he gets a long-term injury, mate, who knows? The other side to it is, you don't want him getting 25, 26 years of age and he's burnt out. Like Michael Owen. Michael Owen, 22, 23, was absolutely firing. Got 27, he was absolutely burnt out. Like, still scoring goals, but nowhere near. Yeah, no, but like if one injury can lead to another in a different. But like if Saka pulls up with a hamstring injury or a calf injury, that eventually will lead to something else. Arteta has got to look in the mirror and go, he's your quote unquote star boy. He's your main guy. He's the face of the football club. He is absolutely unreal for you lot and has been unreal. He debuted at 17 years of age playing left back, right? He's played left wing, right wing. He's played right back. He's played in midfield. He's everything to you boys. You've got to protect him. And so have England. He was our best player at the Euros, and I'm happy to say that. He was absolutely, not the Euros, the World Cup. You've got to wrap him up in cotton wool and just hope for the best. Because if he pulls up, let's say he plays for, we're playing Australia in a friendly. Why are we even doing that in the first place? And the second game is a Euro qualifier against Italy. Saka doesn't need to play those games. Just like Heung-min Son doesn't need to play the 2 friendlies we've got for South Korea. Right, we're in the same situation, mate. Different ages, but they're both similarly important to our football club. Son for us is all our firepower, and Saka is everything to Arsenal. And if we were to lose Son the same as you were to lose Saka, it'd be devastating for both football clubs.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Sean, I'll come to you because Henry's right in terms of Harry Kane. He did used to play all the time for club and country as well. Harry Kane was at an age where Saka wasn't. So Saka's now at 21. Now, I know he was playing similarly when he was a bit younger, but it weren't to the same degree. You know, he was absolute levels from the ages of 25 to 29, bless him. But when you look at Saka at 21 years old, playing this many games, I think Arteta has got to look at 2 things. One, need to rest him. And 2, the reason I'm not resting him is because I don't trust anyone else. Well, I go back to the summer window then and say, why didn't you buy somebody to cover him? So that's where my frustration is, Sean.
Yeah, so there's a little bit, sort of 2 or 3 different points if I can make about that. First and foremost, before I get into Arteta, at the end of the day, Saka's a grown man, right? He can speak his own mind. If he doesn't want to play for England, he can turn around and say, I'm not fit, Gareth, right? I don't want to be. I can walk away from the squad, or I'll come and train. I'll be a part of it, but I don't want to be a part. I'm not quite there right now. I got this niggling injury. Just leave me out of this one. So I don't think that we have to necessarily blame Gareth Southgate or blame Arteta, because the guy is his own man. He can make his own decision whether he's fit or not. And I'll lean on to the conversation that we heard that Ange had with Sonny. Ange wasn't going to play Sonny. Again, to Henry's points, similar, not the same, but similar scenarios. Ange wasn't going to play Sonny against Liverpool. And Sonny said, no, I want to play. I want to play. And then, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's the kind of video footage of Sonny coming off after 60 minutes, like wincing in pain as he sits down in the subs bench, right? So you have to kind of level some of the accountability on the player. If they don't know their own body, then they should be the ones that have the ultimate say. When it comes to Arteta, I completely agree, though, that he has to protect and try to think about the long term as much as the short term. But I would also argue, just for the purpose of devil's advocate, that I do think that when it comes to what happened in the week against Lens, or Lons, however you say it, I think Arteta was in a bit of a kind of between a rock and a hard place, and he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. There was a whole bunch of scenarios that could have played out in that game, and the way it came about was that ultimately the worst case scenario happened, where he decided to play Saka got injured, and you lost the game. But if any of the other scenarios, so obviously Arteta therefore is under the scrutiny, under the spotlight, why did you do it? If there's only one scenario that could have came out with Arteta being a hero, which was he left Saka on the bench, didn't play Saka at all, therefore he didn't get injured, and you won the game. But if Saka didn't play, if Arteta wasn't picked in the team and you lost the game anyway, then you'd have had a section of your fan base going mental at Arteta for not playing Saka. So I feel like there was very little kind of wiggle room for Arteta to get it right in any kind of scenario other than one where he didn't play and you won the game anyway. Look, for me, I feel like on these scenarios, I lean into the player, and so the player has to know his own body and make his own determination whether or not he's fully fit. At the same time, though, I completely understand why you guys are frustrated with the fact that he's been called up to the England squad, just like we are about why Sonny's being called up for the for the Korea.
And they're friendlies. It's not like we got a World Cup in 4 months. These are an England game against Australia. Like
it's friendly now, but there's a qualifier 4 days later, and the same with Korea, right?
Korea's we've already qualified, right? This is an opportunity where you give Jared Bowen a chance, you give Callum Wilson a chance. You know, like we're playing Italy that aren't nowhere near what they used to be, and South Korea are playing bloody Vietnam. Like, give someone else a chance. We don't need to go off foot. Harry Kane and Saka and the likes of Foden do not need to play against Australia. If anything,
the player can say I'm not fit, right?
I think Saka's
point here is
too proud.
I'm not interested right now.
But then he could have done that the previous 89 games, and he hasn't, or he hasn't been fully fit. He could have at any point said, "Look, I'm not fit," but he's a true professional. He's very similar to Harry Kane.
I agree with you, Henry. I think where I'm sort of with Sean to a certain degree is the fact that the player can say, look, I need a break. But I don't think Saka's about that. I think Saka needs to be told at the age of 21, look, man, I know you want to play and I love it. Trust me, I love the fact you'll give 100%. You'll play with your leg hanging off. But you need to rest, buddy. Otherwise, you're going to get a long-term injury. And I think that is the manager of not Gareth Southgate, of Mikel Arteta, to say, I need you for Arsenal more than Gareth needs you for England right now. You ain't got a World Cup. You ain't got a Euros. We've got a title to go and win. We've got a Champions League to try and win. We've got a cup to go and win. Whatever it be that Arsenal could do this year. We need to protect Saka. And I ain't seen that from Mikel Arteta. I've just seen it being quite negligent, if I'm honest, leaving him on 3-0 or 58 minutes gone at Bournemouth, and he's taking Eddie off instead of Saka. The game's won. Get the lad off. Get him ready. Get him fit for the next game. It's poor. It's been poor management, in my opinion. Lee, I'll come to you because I know we all want to see Saka at the weekend, and I do want to see him fit, and I want to see him. I'd rather see Arsenal with Saka in the team. But is there a side of you, Lee, that says maybe he needs not to play for England and then come back after the international break firing and get himself fit? Like, where do we stand with this one, bro?
Yeah, well, listen, I don't think he's going to be fit for Sunday anyway because of that injury. But even if he was, there's nothing Arsenal can do about it. There's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? If you get called up,
late fitness test, they're saying, Lee. Late fitness test, I'm hearing.
A late fitness test. So, so whatever it happens, even if he has that late fitness test, then if he's been called up for England, he has to go to England. That's it. It's as simple as that. He has to go there, do the test with England before they release him. Now, you can turn around and say, "Oh, you're not available," and then England or whoever other country it is can turn around and go, "Oh, well, we're not happy with that," and make you miss a game. It's ridiculous, really, but that's what they can do. You know what I mean? They can actually say to you, right, he was available, so we're going to implement this thing which stops that happening. So at the end of the day, listen, when you listen to Gareth Southgate, he's got every intention of playing him in the game against Italy, because he turned around and said that. He said, our game against Australia is 7 days away, and the one against Italy is 10 days away. So in 10 days, what can happen? I think the rule should be if you can't play for your club, then automatically that puts you out of contention for England. So say if Son isn't fit to play at Luton, then I think the club has got every right to turn around and go, right, well, that's the rule now. He can't play. I think it's scandalous, really, if you think about it, that say Son and Saka could miss games against Luton and Manchester City respectively, and then be playing for their country the following week. I think that's ridiculous, but that is what can happen, and I noticed that Callum Wilson's not in the squad because they've obviously not pulled him out, but he's not fit and available for it. So obviously with Saka, there's not that situation because they would have done exactly the same, So, and listen, if he plays against Man City, listen, he's going to go to England. It's as simple as that, and it's then down to Gareth Southgate whether he plays him or not. I'd imagine that if he does cut. Let's just say the scenario is that he does play on Sunday. I'm pretty sure 99.9% that he won't play against Australia and he'll play against Italy. But the other thing is, I know this sounds silly when you say, "Oh, the players don't want to play," but they don't want to be in a position where they get left out afterwards and not get their place back in the team. For instance, Sterling's not said. I think 3 or 4 months ago that he needed a break and he needed to be rested because of injury concerns. I'm not saying it's different with Saka, but you know what I'm saying? He hasn't got back in the squad since, you know what I mean? So I think you've got to be very, very wary of that. It's not like you can just go around saying, right, yeah, I'm going to play for England this week and the next week I'm not. It's different if you're playing with other countries. And I'm pretty sure that if Song took that stance, it would be okay. But with someone like Song and when they play for those countries, they need their big stars playing, you know what I mean? It's part of contracts and things like that they have to play and all that, So I don't suppose it's that much of a worry for you Spurs fans in going to play against Thailand. It's the travelling that worries, it's all the travelling and time difference and things like that can affect players, you know what I mean? Like the same with the Brazilian boys and things like that. Because when you think about it, Martinelli, went out to Brazil. He played 2 minutes or 3-4 minutes out of there. Comes back and gets injured playing Everton 3 or 4 days later. It wasn't because he's been overplayed in those games. It's the travelling and all that side of it as well. Like, you know, so I take it the England game against Australia is at home, because I'd be bloody damn sure if it was away, I'd be pulling them all out. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I think that it's a difficult one. You know, I'm club before country any day of the week, like, you know, and you know, Declan Rice, for instance, played a whole 90 minutes in England-Scotland friendly last time. I'm doing my nuts, you know what I mean? Like, because you don't want your established players playing in friendlies, like, you know. And I know it's like, you know, Henry's just saying, oh, like, give Bowen a chance. And I'm pretty sure the West Ham fans are going, yeah, they like to see him play, but not for 90 minutes, you know. It's a real
yeah, that's my point. But like the players that are on the cusp of breaking into that first team for England,
yeah, are going to want to get in it, aren't they, and play. And then the other thing is, you know what I mean, I'm not being horrible to Harry Kane and Saka, in particular those two. You know what they can do. You know that come the first Euro game, they're going to be in it. They're guaranteed starters, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, when you look back at your career, I suppose you've got 70 caps. Say you've got 70 caps. You're sitting around the table and all that. Like, well, I would have had 85 if I'd have played in the friendlies and not done this and done that. Like, you know, so. It's a difficult one, you know. This, you know, Gareth Southgate ain't going to be worried what happens to Saka, you know, when we go to Chelsea away. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's the thing. Or the career manager's not going to be happy or worried about what happens with.
We've also got Maddison as well. If Maddison was to pick up an injury in the England squad, would be, you know, it'd be absolutely devastating.
Like Henry, like, I don't think it's a bad thing that he plays. I know, like, you're worried about him getting injured, but like that can happen anytime. But he hasn't been. He's not playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. He's just playing once a week, so he'd be out of hand to win international couple of games. And I think at the end of the day, with someone like Maddison, I don't think he's guaranteed a place in the England starting lineup yet. So he needs to.
It should be this time around, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I don't think that he is, and he's got
I agree with that.
He's got to sort of have an opportunity to make sure that he does. You know what I mean? So I think that he'd be chomping at the bit to get into the England. So I think or playing in the actual games, because I think with him, when you're eating good form, when you're playing well for your club, that's when you want to jump into the international team as well. Like, you know, you don't want to be like. Out of it, and like the last time he played for England, I played one game, didn't he? He was playing on the right, which ain't his position. I want to see him play Australia in his proper position and try and nail it down there. Like, you're going to turn around and say, I don't want him playing in a friendly, but that's the thing where he is. He's not quite nailed down a position yet, and I think that for me, Southgate should be looking at playing, like, I think, Bellingham, Rice, and Maddison as a free.
I agree.
So that and see how that goes. You know what I mean? Now I'm going to turn around. I don't want Rice playing on a Australia game. You know, so you can't. But somewhere along your line, you've got to experiment. So it is a difficult one. No,
it is odd. It is odd. Listen, I want to ask Henry and Sean the same question. Both got caps on, so don't take this literally. But take your Tottenham cap off and your I hate Arsenal cap off and your footballing cap on. How do you see this game going at the weekend, Man City, Arsenal? Both teams got injuries. Big game for both clubs. Massive as far as Arsenal are concerned. Probably not as massive for Man City, I would say. I think Man City probably know that if they lose this game, it ain't end of the world. They've proven so many times. And if they drop points, they'll probably say, do you know what? Fair play. We didn't lose and we move on. Where do you see this one going, Henry? I'll start with you, bro.
This game's going to be the hardest of your fixtures against Man City to predict in a while. Man City have had a bit of a wobble, haven't they? You know, League Cup defeat, lost to Wolves, which I think they've actually lost 3 times to Wolves in the last 4 years or 5 years. I think Adama Traore, you know, scored at both grounds. But, you know, you had a bit of a wobble in Europe. You're going to be expecting, you want the boys to go out and immediately from the traps and, you know, put some good tackles in, the crowd gets behind them. For Man City, I think if they win this game, it's just... I'm going to say it right now. I don't think City are winning the game. I think it's got to draw it all over it. If Man City do win this game, though, that is a big... I'm not saying it's a setback, but it's another time where Arteta has gone up against Guardiola and had a defeat. And before everyone says, they won the dinner plate, they won the Charity Shield, we've already beaten him. In the league games, Guardiola has had the better over Arteta. Let's just look at the facts. He has. If he does it yet again, knowing that there's no De Bruyne, there's no Rodri, he's going into a newly midfield that hasn't done amazing with the likes of Nunes and Kovacic and co. And Haaland's not scoring at the moment, and Alvarez is playing this number 10 role. If he beats Arteta at the Emirates, then when is Arteta ever going to get the better of him? It's now.
Here's a quick trivia for the panel and for the people in the chat if you want to get involved. Last time Arsenal beat Manchester City in the league, name of the year.
2015, Arsenal winning 2-0.
There you go. 2015 is the last time Arsenal beat Manchester City. That's disgusting.
So let's be honest. If they beat you at home, you're not going to the Etihad and winning. I don't care. You're not going. So that will be another year. So we're talking coming up to 10 years, not far off, of beating them. Arteta has got to... None of this, party playing there or party playing here. Go back to your strengths, your back four, the midfield, whether Saka plays or not, play to your strengths and go and play this. Don't go toe to toe with City. Play the approach that everyone plays and get them on the counter. They're there to be got at. If Wolves can have 3 shots on goal and score 2 without even a striker giving the ball the whole time to Jota, is it not Jota? I can't remember what his name is. Who's the winger they've got?
Pedro Neto.
Pedro Neto. I think it's now or never for Arteta. You've got to win the game, but I think if I'm predicting it, I think it has draw written all over it. And I think right now, if you're saying to City fans, I think they'd take a draw. I know all the City fans are going to go, we beat them all the time, but they're not fitter and firing. It took an 84th minute goal and a 90-minute goal for them to beat Leipzig. And normally they spank them 4 or 5-0 every year. I don't think City are at their... I think right now, if we played City at home tomorrow, I think we'd beat them. And that's not me being a deluded Spurs fan. I just don't think that they're playing anywhere near their best. And you've got to be going into that game thinking we've had a difficult start. I get that, but Arsenal are due a massive performance. That Bournemouth was the best performance they've had of the year. Every other performance they've won, they've got the points, but they haven't come away thinking we were quality today. We were mustard. It's been something in the game's not necessarily gone right where a certain performance. If you go in and beat Man City with a quality performance, that will be a stepping stone for you to go. I mean, you've got a relatively easy run of games now. Man City have got Brighton, United coming up. They're not easy games. I think you've got the likes of Sheffield United next. Beating Man City right now would be massive for you lot.
Yeah, man. I got it wrong, by the way. It's 2017, not 2015. 3-1 at home, but still, it's too long. Sean, let's come to you, mate, because Eri makes good points there in relation to how we beat them and what we do and how we set up. The Arteta Pep situation is always a big one because of who Arteta had come from and how he's learned off of him. But Pep's had his number, mate, every single season so far that he's been at the club. How do you see this one going? Because Rodri's out, KDB's out. I know that they've replaced Gundogan and Mahrez, but they're 2 players that played really well against Arsenal every year. They've obviously got Doku now and Kovacic. And Arsenal, we don't know what's happening with Martinelli and Saka, and Partey was on the bench midweek but didn't play. So we got a couple of injuries ourselves, man. What's your thoughts, bro?
For me, I personally see it going Man City's way, and it's not because I'm a Tottenham. I'm not wishing for it. I'd probably prefer a draw, if I'm honest. But I think it will, in my mind at the moment,
just because we can be top of the league.
Well, that's what I want it to be a draw, so we can be top of the league if we beat Luton. But I think that the game will, the way I see it, will lean City's way. But not because I think City are spectacular, but I think that Arsenal have been too wasteful. I think at the top end of the pitch, at the moment, in recent times, you guys are creating 6-7 chances a game and you're scoring 1 or 2. And I think that the difference between you this season and last season is wastefulness, and I think that the other element that I think that's a problem for you is that your substitutes or the people that you're being asked to bring in, whether it's through injury or off the bench, I think that there's no impact. I don't think that they're having the impact on the team that they should be having. I think you've got depth. Like I know you're going through a bit of an injury crisis right now, or you're coming on the tail end of it, but I'm just not seeing enough from the players that are being given chance. When they're getting their moments, they're not taking them. And I feel like against a team like City, who even if Haaland, like he did last night, had an off night, they've got a player like Alvarez who's got the moment of magic in him. They've got a player like Foden who's going to step up. It's a very, very rare thing to see Manchester City where the entire outfit that they have are all off the point. And I think that whilst your defense is good, you're going to concede chances. And I think that Man City have a level of ruthlessness about them. Even if one of them is off, 2 or 3 others will step up. And for me, the difference in the game will be determined by whether, because Arsenal will get chances as well. You'll get your chances. But from what I've seen of your team this year, you need too many to score enough to beat a team like City at the moment. Because I think City will score at least 2 goals in the game. And I think that comes down to, look, obviously some of the players need to step up. But again, I go back to the Arteta thing. I think that Arteta's made a lot of mistakes. I think you guys should be asking questions. I'm sure you are, but having some questions around why the decisions were made around why you spent. If you're going to spend 70 million quid on a guy like Kai Havertz, if you're going to spend 70 million quid on any player, that player needs to be at the best and also make logical sense into the system that you're putting him into. If you're spending 70 million pound on a player that also has a crisis of confidence, then that player needs to be worth 120 million quid at his best. And Kai Havertz ain't that guy. And I don't know why you didn't go and do certain other things and spend your money in different areas quite the way you went about it was a little bit weird to me. And so I just feel like at the moment, the way that Arsenal win this game is you're going to have to take your chances when they come up, and you're going to have to get a conversion of like 70% in order for me to see you getting 3 points. And I don't think you've hit 70% conversion on your chances, on your key chances, your core chances this season yet. And so for me,
they are due a big performance though.
A tidal change, some sort of shift in the energy and the output of your team. And maybe you'll find a way to do it on the day. But if you're asking me right now, I just think will probably take the point.
They are due a big performance. That United game they played, I don't think either team was that great. It was a bit of a, if you're a neutral fan, it's a bit of a boring game until the last 10 minutes. Right, Fulham at home, 2-2 against. Okay, admittedly they got a man sent off, but Fulham should never be getting a goal like down to 10 men. Forest, the performance wasn't great. Arsenal are due a home performance where they come away and Lee's on on the fan.
Yeah, but Henry, if the logic
a performance like that,
if the logic as to why Man City are going to lose against Arsenal is because Arsenal are overdue a better performance.
No, I'm not saying that, really, but they are they're due a win against City. They are look at us, right? No one thought
that's not really a strong argument, though, is it? Like, oh, it's time. Like,
how are they going to do it? We were going to go in and beat Liverpool, and we ended up doing that. No one thought we'd go in and do something against Arsenal. We did that. Like, eventually things do change.
That's fine, mate. Listen, what I'm saying is that if we're trying to create a debate as to what it is that Arsenal need to do to beat a team like City, then if the strongest argument that's on the other side is to say, well, it's about time that they did it, it's about time that they found a performance, that's not really.
But the way they beat them is get them on the counter attack. That's the way to beat Man. That's exactly what Wolves did. That's what we do every year.
Chances, mate. They have to take their chances, and it will depend on if Martinelli's available. You've got a stronger chance. If Thomas Partey's back in and can sit there and protect and start to play the ball around again, then you've got again a stronger chance. But if Saka's out and Martinelli's out, and if Thomas Partey hasn't had any minutes, which he won't have done, even if he gets half a game, I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm thinking, I haven't seen enough out of Arsenal to think that they're going to need to take every chance, or at least, like I say, 70% of the chances that they get, they're going to have a really high kind of conversion. And if they don't, then Man City will, and you are going to concede chances against Manchester. Everyone does, right? So that's my concern for Arsenal.
Yeah, fair man. I think you both make good points, and I'm never confident going into this game. And the stats are right. 2015, last time we beat them. That is right. Apparently, it was right the first time. Someone in the chat threw everyone, but it is 2015. Lee, talk to me about this game, bro. What you're feeling going into this one at the weekend, man?
Well, the biggest problem, Arsenal would win this game, I think, comfortably if Martinelli and Saka were fit. You know what I mean? Like, and Man City had their same team out, because Man City have played for the last 3 games they've played Newcastle, Wolves, and they played in Germany and in midweek. Rodri played in one of those games. The other 2 he hasn't. He's a massive, massive player for them. Massive, massive player.
Yeah.
And he's not playing in this game here. And that gives Arsenal, with their best team, a massive advantage. But not having your 2 best wide players is going to cause problems for Arsenal, because, you know, I agree, like, you know, we don't take our chances. Sean's right. You know what I mean? We've had, you know, I didn't think we played that well against Spurs, if I'll be honest. But realistically, we should have been 2-0 up. And then 2-0 up's a different game. But Spurs had 3 chances that day, scored twice. Lons, even in the week, when you look at it, really 4 chances, Arsenal, really 4, maybe even 5, 1 goal. Lons, 3 chances, 2 goals. So a
couple of good saves from that Samba goalkeeper, right? He was a good.
But goalkeeper didn't make saves. You don't, you know, he didn't save Jesus's one, did he? Because it was ruthlessly finished, you know, and that's what you got to do. You got to, you know, make those, you know, and their 2 goals that they took were fantastic finishes, and you've got to have that. I don't look at other games neither. You know, people go, oh, if you can't beat Fulham at home, or you struggle against Nottingham Forest, or you don't beat Spurs at home, you know, it's a completely different game. It's a completely all cards on the table. It's a different game. You know, we you know, right, because, you know, like, if you look at it, like, you know, because we didn't beat Spurs at home, that means that every team that's as good as Spurs is we're not gonna win. It just doesn't work like that, you know. Listen, Spurs struggled against Sheffield United, didn't struggle against Liverpool. They're different games. Anything can happen, like, you know. So I look at it and just think that midfield of theirs is vulnerable. They give the ball away a little bit more where they don't with Rodri, you know, and that's why. Listen, if Rodri plays in that game against Wolves do not win that game, in my opinion, like, you know, because he would not lose those balls in those areas and they wouldn't get counter-attacked. So that we've got to dominate the midfield. And I think that if Thomas Partey is fit, I know he hasn't had the minutes, get 60, 70 minutes out of him would be a good thing. If he's not, you have to go with probably Havertz, and this is where when you pay that sort of money, there's no excuses no more. This is it, where you've got to come in and do the business, and these are the games when you buy these big players to make the difference. You know, Declan Rice, I think, has made a difference, you know, in games, but now it's someone else has got to step up as well, like, you know. So listen, I think that injuries are a part of it. Every team, you know what I mean? Like, at the moment, Spurs are on high. If they was to lose a couple of their players, things change. And the thing is, with Arsenal and Man City, they've got big squads. So I don't think I'm really looking at excuses and no more. Like, if Saka doesn't play and if Saka doesn't play and Martinelli doesn't play, that counteracts it with whatever, like, you know. Listen, if Arsenal had their full strength team out and the Man City had their full strength team, and I mean like De Bruyne at top level, Rodri and all that, you know, I don't think many teams would beat Man City. I really don't, you know what I mean? And you know, when people go, oh, you've got a terrible record against Man City, do you know why we've got a terrible record against them? Because they're bloody better than us. You know what I mean? Like that's why. They're a better team. They've had the better team over the last 4 or 5 years. And, you know, the better teams 9 times out of 10 win. You know,
I do feel though at times Arteta doesn't approach the game like you try to go toe to toe with City, and that isn't.
That's what he's going to do. Look, you know, people were 2 weeks ago saying, "Oh, if Ange comes down and goes toe to toe with Arsenal, Arsenal will destroy him." They didn't know, Henry. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they didn't do-
I'm
they
just saying
didn't do it.
previously where you have tried to
Yeah,
go
you know
toe-to-toe,
what
it
I mean?
hasn't,
Like,
hasn't worked.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you know, like everyone, you know, Spurs come there a couple of weeks ago. I'm using Spurs because you know, is what we're talking about. You know, everybody's going, oh, like we play a different game and defend. They didn't. You know what I mean? They played their game, and I don't. If you're a really good side, you don't change. You don't change your style. You know what I mean? And I think that's. You've got to be brave to do that, and I quite admire Arteta for doing that. Like, you know, last season we lost to them when we had a couple of our better players missing, Party, and I can't remember who else was missing on the day. But anyway, we ended up making a couple of mistakes, lose the game 3-1. Could have gone the other way. The season
Tommy
before
Asu
that.
give the ball away and De Bruyne chipped
Yeah,
Ramsdale.
De Bruyne scored. Mistakes. But otherwise, they've been very, very close games. The Community Shield, I know don't go too much into that. Very, very close game. Like when you go up there, you know, like last game, they just destroyed us, and that's what they can do. But you know, look, we're at home. We're at home, and I think that when you're at home, you've got to be a little bit more bullish and say, right, you know, we're going to play our game. And if I'll be disappointed if Arsenal went in there and started playing completely different and counter-attacking football, particularly at home. It doesn't do it away, Henry. Like, you know what I mean? If I'll be honest, you know, which
is Thomas Partey expected to be back, Lee?
He was on the bench Tuesday night. You know, he's not got. He's going to be fit. But there's a difference between being fit and match fit, isn't there? Like, and getting minutes.
Yeah.
You know, under your belt. I think realistically, if we'd have another week later, I think you know, we would have been a better. I think, say if, how can I say? I don't want to be disrespectful to any team really, but like, say if we was playing, who did we have in our last game? Like, yeah, if we was playing Luton at home, for instance. Yeah, let's go that round. Luton at home or Luton away. You could say, right, I'm going to get Thomas and Partey some minutes in this game, and then he'd be match ready for the man.
Slowly build him up.
Yeah, it's just slightly build it up, but we haven't got that luxury. So
I do agree with you though. That I do really agree with you that the midfield battle. I always think the midfield battle is where the game is often won or lost, and I think that Manchester City is or are more vulnerable than they ever would normally be.
Yeah,
Rodri. I completely agree with you. And if you have Thomas Partey in there, even the 75% Thomas Partey versus shoehorning Havertz in there somehow, or whoever, or Jorginho, or whoever it's going to be, whatever you do with your midfield, I think you've got a 50% better chance of getting something meaningful out of the game with Partey in that midfield against the Man City midfield that has the absence of Rodri than if Partey's not involved in it.
You're right, Sean. And like, listen, Rodri and De Bruyne, if and 100% fit, they get into every single team in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Like
every team in Europe. Let's be honest.
They're that good. They're that good. Like, you know what I mean? So it's to have them not there. You know, you've got to realistically try and take advantage of that. Really, like, you know, and if you can, listen. Haaland is a great striker, like, you know what I mean. But if he ain't got no ammunition, he can't fire. Like, so what I'm saying is that someone said to me the other day, he ain't scoring as many goals as he did last season. When he ain't got De Bruyne loading his gun, you know what I mean? Like, so he
can be sloppy against you lot in the game last season at the City ground at the Etihad. Sorry. You guys had opportunities in that game in the first half because Haaland had 2 or 3 chances and he missed. He was way off point in the first half.
He does miss a lot of chances, Sean, but
he gets about 10 chances a game, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. In the second half, he finally made it tick. But there was an opportunity. Arsenal, were up against it in the first 20 minutes of that game, and Haaland missed them. And then you guys had the chances down the other end. And if you could have gone 1-0 up, 2-0 up, then the whole thing could have turned on its head. But ultimately, you didn't take your chances, which again is the story that I'm worried about this time round. And then eventually in the second half, Man City's dominance, took over. And I think that is, for me, that's if you guys are going to take 3 points out of this game, your creativity needs to be on point. And, Odegaard I absolutely love Odegaard as a player. I think he's sensational. He's close to, if not, well, he's definitely going to be one of the kind of world class 10s in the game. But there's been occasions this year where he's gone missing, and I think against Lens he was kind of irrelevant. And as well, and he's going to need to be the guy
as well. He didn't do much.
And against us, yeah. If you've got Martinelli back, but you don't have Saka, either way, whatever the scenario is with your width, he's got to pull the strings. If he has an off day, I think it's curtains. If he's on his point, if he's on the game 100%, then I think you've got a chance. But like I say, for the reasons I've already, for me, I think Man City probably are going to walk away with it. Unfortunately for you guys.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's before we go to Spurs, because we are over halfway to the show, we want to talk about Tottenham as well. Let's just get some predictions, man. See what you're going for. Sean, what are you saying?
Close game, but I'm going to say 2-1 City.
Henry?
2-2.
Judges?
2-1. I think Arsenal nick it.
I'm going to go 2-2. Just quickly, judges, who plays in goal for you? Raya or Ramsdale?
Raya.
Okay, cool. I think that's right now. I think Raya's number one. He's made that very, very clear.
He's made that decision.
Yeah, he's made that decision now, and I think he's got to stick with it. Let's come to Spurs. You've got Luton, and like you say, Henry, you can go top of the league if you win that game, and obviously the other game ends in a draw, which you're predicting and I'm predicting. You'll beat Luton, won't you? Surely.
I can't believe I'm going to say this because I've said I think we could get win our next 5 games, but I don't know why I've just got this horrible feeling in the back of my head. I don't know if ever there's going to be a Spursy moment, it's now. That being said, I don't know what's going to our front three is going to be, mate, because Solomon's out for 2 to 3 months now. I don't know if Son's 100% fully match fit. I don't think he is. So, like we were just talking about earlier, do we play Son and then risk him getting injured, but then he could also play for the national team? There's a little bit of a headache. Like, we're down to bare bones now for our forwards. Brian Hill's out injured. He's not back until the end of the month, right? Perisic is out with an ACL injury. Solomon's out injured. Brennan Johnson's been ruled out of the game. So we've got Kulusevski, who's obviously going to play on the right, Richarlison, and Son. So you've obviously got Valise on the bench, but I don't think he's ready for the first team. Well, a lot of people are saying he's not ready. So if that's our front three, I think there's enough firepower, there's enough creativity there to win the game. But I don't know, man. I've just got a horrible feeling. Like, I reckon if we win, I reckon it's going to be 2-1. But like,
you've seen Luton play, Henry.
Yeah, but we did. Lee, we went to City, won 3-2, and the next week lost 1-0 to Burnley. We beat City, and 7 days later lost to Burnley, and they went down. Like, I know they're not a great side. I know they're not, and I know we should be going there. And we've beaten the likes of Burnley away from home. We've beaten Burnley away from home. We've gone to your place. But Sean will agree, if there is a game we are going to lose away from home, it is going to be this. Like, but I'm still saying we're going to win.
You'll comfortably win. I think you'll comfortably win 3-1. Sean, what do you reckon this one? Like, I know Luton is going to be a big moment for them, and they want to do as much as they can to get points. I actually think Luton have been a little bit disrespected. They are the highest in the league of the 3 teams that went up. Take that as you will. Burnley and the Sheffield United need to be looking at themselves, in my opinion.
Burnley at home, They've just lost to Burnley at home.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the other two ain't exactly.
Saying, but like, listen.
Hang on, people are saying I've got a loser mentality. Mate, we're Tottenham. Like, this has been going on for years.
Henry, I'll get you. Look, I'll get what you're saying. Though I hate these sort of games because you are expected to go and win. Like, we were playing Bournemouth this week. I was worried, like we weren't going to win the game. And then when you're 3 or 4-0 up, you think, what the hell was I worrying about? And I think it's the same year with Luton. Like, back to you, Dan.
No, listen, I don't think Luton are going to win at all. I think Spurs are going to beat them. I do think people have been a little bit disrespectful for Luton, though. I'm only saying this because I've just been speaking to Dave, who's a Luton fan on my channel.
It's been nice.
Can I ask you a question?
Everyone's saying that we're going to be the new Derby and that we're not going to get this. We need to win 3 more games, and everyone will just shut up and stop talking about that. I actually think Sheffield United have been worse than Luton, but anyway, at least
I agree, mate.
Pumped 8 by Newcastle, Luton. Do you know what I mean? Go on, Henry. Sorry, go on.
If we beat Luton, that's 6 wins and 2 draws in our first 8 games. The best start to the season we've had since the 61 year. How much praise do you give Tottenham and Postecoglou as you two looking at it from rival fans?
Yeah, a lot of praise. Absolutely. I said it earlier. I hate Postecoglou because I like him. And I've never liked a Tottenham boss before. I like everything he says. I like the way he comes across in the media. I like his style of play. I don't think Tottenham have ever had a bad 11. I think the 11 you had last year, when you look at it with Harry Kane, Conte plays that style of football, doesn't he? Right? If you want an actually attractive style of football, I think that's what he's now brought to you. But actually, the players I think you've brought in to allow you to play that has been what people are just going over the top. Because people like to get very excited and very Tottenham fans like to get very excited about Romero, but he's been nowhere near as good as Van der Ven for me personally. I think Van der Ven has been head and shoulders above Romero. Like for me, like you might disagree, but I didn't see Van der Ven doing some of the stuff that Romero does. I think also Maddison has just taken you to a new level, mate. And I said I wanted this kid, and everyone said no, we don't need him. We've got Ødegaard. No, how about we have them both? Because we've got this Havertz geezer now instead of him. For me, Maddison, class. Bissouma, actually play him. Last season, you were playing Højbjerg and Bentancur. Like, come on, man. Like, Bissouma's taken you to a new level. So I think Ange Postecoglou deserves a hell of a lot of credit. And actually, where would you be with Harry Kane? People are saying, oh, actually, it's better without Kane because everyone's now playing for a shirt. Don't tell me that you wouldn't be playing like this if Harry Kane, you dumped Harry Kane in there. It's Ange Postecoglou. It's not because Kane's outside. Like, that might have helped some of the others go to a new level, of course. But for me, put Harry Kane in this side and Tottenham are even more flying. So I think Ange Postecoglou deserves a hell of a lot of credit, man. Hell of a lot. I do worry for Tottenham in terms of the long term. I don't think you're going to be second or go for a title. That's just me. You might do. You got to keep all 11 players fit and sit there and pray one game a week. But you've already just mentioned some injuries. Maddison gets injured. You've got Lo Celso. Basuma gets injured. You've got Højbjerg back in.
Lo Celso's already injured as well.
Eric, there you go. So who you got there? Eric Dyer's knocking on the door. Can't wait for one of your two centre halves to get injured so he can get a game. You know what I mean? So that's the problem, man. It's just the strength in depth, and we can talk about Arsenal's lack of strength in depth, but we've got all 4 competitions, whereas Tottenham have just got 1 game a week. So you're quite kind of lucky in that respect. But for me, I do think you're a couple. I mean, imagine if Son and Maddison got injured, what would you look like then? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, but listen, you deserve a hell of a lot of credit, and Postecoglou does as well, man. For sure. 100%.
Yeah, I echo that. Like, I think he's come in, and I think he's been very clever. I think first he thought, right, I'm going to just play like attacking football, and if Spurs win, then fantastic. If they lose, the fans would be on board with that, which they have been. And at the moment, they're riding the crest of a wave. You know what I mean? Decisions going their way as it did last week. In saying that, you've still got to take your chances. Still got to get the job done. I didn't watch it all, but what I did see of the game last week, I thought Liverpool were even with 10 men dangerous against Spurs. Like they looked like they could get something. But in the end, you know, I don't care what anybody says. You know, two goals in the last minute goals or wherever long it is into the thing is a good sign. You know, people go, oh, that's lucky Spurs or lucky Arsenal when it was that. I never see it that means that you're banging on the door all the time, like, you know, so you're on the front foot. But these are the games now that will determine what Spurs are like in the next 3 or 4 games, because these are games now you're expected to win. I don't think, you know, like even the Liverpool game, like, I think that if you won that game, you know, fantastic. If you lost it, I don't think people will be going, oh, well, it ain't the end of the world. I know you probably would have done when the circumstance of it as it was, but if it was like 11 versus 11 and Liverpool would have won that game, I think you'd probably thought, oh, well, you know, we're not quite there yet now. But these games like Luton, is it Fulham you got next, or Crystal Palace?
Luton, Fulham, Palace, Wolves and Chelsea.
You're expected to get 9 points from those games. And they're the pressure ones, you know what I mean? Like, especially when they're going to play low blocks against you, and they're not going to come out against you, and they're going to find it very, very difficult. But listen, I think Spurs are riding a wave at the moment. And do you know what will knock your old surfboard off? A defeat at Luton. That's the sort of thing that will.
That's what I worry about, Lee. You know what,
Yeah,
Lee? That's the very reason why, as much as I think that Tottenham should be going there comfortably, and this might sound disgraceful to any Tottenham fans that are watching this, but when I have these sorts of weird gut feelings that something is going to go belly up, I go and put a cheeky 1-0. 1-0. I put a score on 1-0 Luton at 18-1 just to make me feel better if the worst case scenario happens. And
Yeah, but Sean,
I
they'll
think
probably win 2-1 now if that happens.
which will be the worst of all scenarios. But like, yeah, I feel like I think that Tottenham are going to win the game, but I do think this is a potential banana skin. When you look at the injuries that are happening at Tottenham right now, that are all in the same area of the park. And look, as much as Tottenham are getting the job done against Sheffield United, look, I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh, we were lucky because it took us into the 100th minute to get it done." I think we got the job done. Like the minutes on the pitch are the minutes on the pitch. But I do think we struggled creatively. I think against Liverpool, we struggled creatively. I think against Arsenal, when Maddison and Sonny came off injured or came off in the 60th minute, we struggled. We didn't create anything. I think the last 20 minutes was like petering out. I think both teams were kind of not wanting to win enough, not wanting to lose a little bit too much. And the game petered out. The same thing against Liverpool. Tottenham didn't really have a creative bone in our body once Son and Maddison came off. Now you've got an additional creative outlet that's injured in Manor Solomon, and we don't know what Sonny's going through. I hope he's going to play, but I know if he is, he's playing injured, maybe like a pain-killing injection or something. So I worry whether or not, if the worst case scenario does play out, that Sonny can't finish the game, and if Luton do affect the low block very well, then I think that it could be a really frustrating evening. And then you've got that guy, what's his name? He's the fastest player, Chidozie Ogbene or whatever his name is. He's like the fastest player in the Premier League at the moment, or the fastest player ever, or whatever his name. Like, there's Luton. I'm not worried about them creatively, but like if Tottenham are throwing everything at it, there's always that chance that something could happen on the break, right? And then what I'm saying, I think that in the back of my mind, just like Henry, there's a little bit of a banana skin concern in my mind, especially with how much energy has been thrown towards Tottenham from rival fan bases. Tottenham fans sort of doing this to everyone that's that's getting annoyed by Tottenham fans celebrating the kind of fortune around the Liverpool game and what happened at Arsenal. You just know that there's a little bit of a chance, or maybe a lot of a chance, that something could go wrong against one of the teams that you should be beating, considering we've got past Liverpool and Arsenal unscathed. And that's why I'm worried. But on paper, I'm still going to sit there and say I think we should win the game 2-0. But I have had a 20 quid bet that we're going to lose 1-0 just so I can soften the blow if that does happen.
Mate, that's crazy. I think you will. I think you will, man. I can't lie. And I think it will be comfortable. I want to close by asking you both, and Lee as well, expectations for Tottenham now, because a lot of people put you like 10th, 9th, 8th without Harry Kane, because you come 8th with Harry Kane. So I don't think it was disgraceful to put Tottenham in and around that place, to be fair. We didn't know what Postecoglou was about. We didn't know what your new signings were going to do. And without Kane, that's 30 goals gone. So I understood that. Then I started to watch you play and thought, actually, because of the way everyone else is around you, you've definitely got a chance of Champions League through the league. So Henry, we'll start with you. Like, I mean this when I say this. I think Arsenal, Liverpool and City will still finish above you. But I think there's nothing stopping you from getting that next place and that 4th place. Now, I know it's 5 this year for Champions League, but we've always said top 4, haven't we? Are you with me there, or do you think you can get higher?
The Tottenham fans...
Keep that same energy, Henry. Keep that same energy, bro. You've been saying it all week. Keep the same energy.
Look, I have said, if we can... And I'll say it on this channel. I've said it on every channel. If we can get for the next 13 games unscathed and get to January without any injuries, because we're in a similar position to what you guys were in last year in terms of you had a fantastic 11, but the depth wasn't there. You've obviously gone and bought Timber, and you bought Havertz, and you bought Rice, and whatever. I'm the 100. This is 100% my honest opinion. If we can get until January unscathed, and hypothetically we do go and buy a midfielder, a defender, and a forward, and I know money's going to be tight. They've already said that, so we need to be careful on what we're offloading. I don't see why we can't try and break into that top 3. 1 game a week. We haven't got an FA Cup game until January. Our next 5 games are kind to us. However, if we get injuries, it all changes and we could be 5th, 6th, 7th. Like if we go into December, Maddison gets injured, Song gets injured, Van der Ven gets injured, then you're thinking we're going to finish 6th or 7th. But if I had to place my bet right now, I think we get 4th. Like
Okay,
I do
okay.
agree with you. I think Arsenal, Liverpool, and City have better overall squads. They're further down their project process, whatever you want to call it. Like I think right now, every Tottenham fan and their dog would take 4th. We're just thinking in the back of our mind, could we? Can we do something? But yeah, I think 4th would be a great achievement for us this year.
Interesting. Sean, what about you, bro?
Yeah, not too dissimilar. I went into the season just looking forward to good football and hoping that we got a top half finish, qualifying for the Conference League somewhere in or around sort of 7th or 8th is what I really had at this stage of the project. Obviously, when you get to see the football we're playing and the results you're getting, it's tempting to reset your expectations. And I probably have a little bit to the point where I think that you do look up and you say, maybe you can compete. I personally think I'm definitely not saying what you've been saying on every other channel, mate. I'm surprised you haven't kept the same energy, to be entirely honest.
What's the difference between what Arsenal did last year and what we're doing this year? Like the first
listen,
games.
I personally do think. Here's what I will say. I know this is an Arsenal channel. I'm not saying this as a Tottenham fan. I'm saying this as a football fan. I personally think that Arsenal smashed through their own glass ceiling last year and were well ahead of expectations for their own from where they were the year before to where they got to. And I don't know necessarily whether that is the new normal for you guys to be in title races. I'm not saying that as a Tottenham fan, caveat, just my opinion as a football fan. I think that you have to do it for a second season before I can sit there and think that you are at the same level as Manchester City. I personally think that there isn't going to be a title race this year. I think that Manchester City are going to run away with it at some point. And I think that 2nd to 8th, there's a couple of levels within that kind of packet of teams, but I wouldn't be surprised to see any number of different formulations between 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And I think that Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, if they want to continue their form, Brighton, I know they had an absolute shocker the other week, but I think that they're playing good enough football to be in and amongst the conversation as well. I think injuries will always dictate a lot of the play, and I think there'll be an element of luck. But I personally don't feel like there is a title race. I think that Manchester City will run away with it. Don't want to be disrespectful to Arsenal because they probably are the best of the rest, and Liverpool are up there too. But I think that Tottenham are well ahead of expectations, and for me, I would absolutely love it if Tottenham could finish 4th or 5th. And I think that 5th will be a Champions League spot as long as the teams that are in Europe that represent England, outperform the clubs that represent other countries. So, which I expect them to. So I think that if Tottenham can get Champions League this year, and then in January, just fill a couple of holes, and then next summer Daniel Levy doesn't let us down and goes again and develops that depth, then maybe next year Tottenham can look for something better. But I personally think that the gap between Arsenal and Tottenham is closer than it is between Arsenal and City, if that makes sense.
Interesting, man. I think my top 6 prediction was City to win it, Arsenal to come 2nd, Liverpool 3rd. I had Newcastle in 4th, and everyone laughed because their start was abysmal, but now they're starting to pick up again, and I think they will be fine. I know the Champions League, everyone says going to kill them, but I think they'll be fine even with that. And I had you boys 5th, and this was me a couple of games in, just when the window had shut and everything, because it obviously changes when that happens. And I thought, yeah, I like what you're doing. And even with a couple of injuries, I still think you'll get into the top 6. God knows who's going to get that 6th spot. I think I put Brighton. But I honestly think that will be in some order, not too far off of it. I think Man United and Chelsea look a mess. I think Aston Villa are proving that, another competition that they're going to really go for that Conference League, I think, because Emery loves the European competition cup. So I don't put them in the top 5. So Champions League spot for Spurs. Lee, is that fair to say that Tottenham will be there or thereabouts?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, because of what's happened with Chelsea and Man United. I think that I did expect them to be a lot better than what they have been at this moment in time. And trust me, if Man United sort out their goalkeeping issues and their defensive issues, I watched their centre forward the other night. Wow, he looks an handful. You know what I mean? That Hoyland, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah, Hoyland. Yeah.
Whoa, he looks like a player. So I think that they're going to, once they get that sorted out, I think Man United will start flying up the charts a little bit. Newcastle, after a couple of indifferent games to start off with, like, been very, very impressed with what I've seen with them over the last few weeks. We go there in a few weeks' time. I don't fancy our chances up there, and I don't fancy many teams getting something from them up there. Liverpool, by the way, went up there and got a result with 10 men, didn't they? Like, you know, so I think Liverpool are going to be up there. I do think with Spurs, I think I'll go along with Henry at the moment, not because of injuries and whatever. So if Tottenham stick with what's going on at the moment with that Champions League thing, I think as you go deeper into it, I do think it's going to take its toll. I watched, our game on Tuesday. Best team we played this season by a long way, and we played Man United, Tottenham in that there. The actual strength of that is very, very physical and mentally as well, like, you know what I mean? And I think it's going to be tough for it at the moment. I think at the moment, though, Tottenham will. I think it's just got to take it game for game and see where it takes you, like, and I won't be getting carried away like we wasn't last season at Arsenal. We just went one game, and all of a sudden, if you can find yourselves 3 or 4 or 5 points in front, all of a sudden, other teams are losing because of what other games and all that, and you keep winning. All of a sudden, 5-6 point lead can open up. Not say on Manchester City, but the teams below, and then all of a sudden there's a little bit of pressure taken off you. Like I'm only speaking from our experience last season. When we got top 4, we weren't even celebrating it because we was in a different sort of race, and I think that's what Tottenham have got to do. Just keep plodding away. They will have a dodgy spell at some stage, you know what I mean? Things are going from at the moment, but they've got players that can get them out of those dodgy spells at the moment, So,
Lee, can I ask you a question? Would you guys say that last season was a little bit of an anomaly in as much as there was more teams than were expected that had really bad years last year? Like Liverpool weren't at it until the late stages. United weren't really at it either. Tottenham obviously had a disappointing second half of the season. There was a lot of Chelsea obviously absolutely struggled to the point where Newcastle outperformed above expectations. And I just wonder whether or not last season Arsenal being where they were second all the way, they obviously were playing really above themselves, in my opinion, at least above the previous version of themselves the year before. Man City kept doing what they were doing, but everybody else was a distant second because there were so many teams that weren't really firing on all cylinders. And this season, whilst I think Manchester United and Chelsea are clearly still going through their own versions of turmoil, everybody else seems to be picking up and moving. Like Newcastle, I hear what you're saying. Like one week they're hot, the next week they're not. And it's an interesting thing about Newcastle. But Villa seem to be kicking on. Brighton have kicked on again. Tottenham seem to be improving. I just wonder whether or not that pack of the also like if you've got Manchester City that are clearly here, Arsenal that are still second, but Liverpool have kicked back in, Tottenham kicking back in, Villa carrying on, Brighton carrying on, Newcastle carrying on. Is it more difficult to figure out where the also rans in the European spots finish this year because there's less disappointments outside of United and Chelsea?
If you look at last season, I think Newcastle were unbeaten for a long while and were right up there for a while. Man United, when we went to play Man United at home, if they'd have beaten us, they would have gone above us. It was a title. They were back in the title race, but teams faded off and all that. I think that it's just as strong now. I watched Arsenal in pre-season last year, and I said that they'd come runners up. I said that.
Okay.
When I see the likes of Saliba and things like that, and we rode a little bit of it and all that, And listen, when you say about injuries and all that, we had our star player out for 4 months. You know what I mean? So, and then at the end of the season, when it really mattered, we lost our best defender as well, like, you know. So injuries do take a part on it, like, you know. But you're up against Man City that are going to be there and thereabouts. But I remember we played Newcastle at home. We drew 0-0 with them, and I think that they was, you know, right up there at that sort of stage. Brighton were a good side. I don't think Brighton have been quite as good this season as they were last season. Tottenham, when we played Tottenham last season, I think that they were top. I think it was like they was up there for a while and then faded. This season, though, like listen, last season Chelsea weren't nowhere near it, and the surprise last season, I'll be really honest, the surprise for me was Liverpool, and I think that they dropped off.
Started horribly, right?
Yeah. Remember, I think they lost.
They pulled it together late on. They went on a really late
at the end of the season, but that was some bad games.
Aston Villa were 15th, weren't they? Like in February, Aston Villa were 15th.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, Unai Emery's responsible for that.
So I don't think you really can go too much on it at this moment in time. Like, you know, what will happen at the end of the day? What you said earlier on, you think Manchester City will run away with it. I think I don't actually agree with that, because I do think that there will be a few more teams pushing for it this season. I think, like, you know, listen, Tottenham will credentials will be found out when they go to the likes of Arsenal, and they've got a draw there. But Arsenal can be is a local derby. It's when you go to Liverpool away, Newcastle away, Villa away. You know, it's the same for us. You know what I mean? You've got to get some sort of results from them, like, you know, and when you're on a crest of a wave, things can happen, like, you know, like it did for us last season. You know what I mean? Like last minute goals go in, and you think, well, this could something's happening, something's coming our way. You know, you can't explain it. You know, I remember when we was 2-0 down against Bournemouth, bloody Bournemouth, like, you know what I mean? Like, and you're thinking, but there is always in your back of the mind that we're going to come back in this game. Like, I don't know if you felt that against Sheffield United, like, you know, you're 1-0 down, but last season it weren't going to happen, but this season it sort of happened. You know, like the game against Liverpool, like, you know, I actually thought that you'd beat Liverpool, like, you know, and then when all what happened and all that, it's probably a better result for you and the confidence the way it went, if you know what I mean.
I had Spurs to win 2-1, but not like that.
no, but that's what I'm saying. So sometimes you find a way to.
Oh yeah, of course you'll take it. Yeah, 100%.
And you know, it will see how it is.
Interesting to say that, Lee, because I actually think the result against Sheffield United, I was saying this on my channel, I didn't want Tottenham to have to wait until the 95th and the 100th minute to get the result against Sheffield United. But if you're going to look for a way to finish a game before you go into the Arsenal away game, in terms of momentum and confidence,
exactly,
then there's no better scenario than being 1-0 down in the 94th minute and coming back to win in injury time, going into that game. That sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a great point that you say. Look, listen, there was games last season, and I can't remember the games. You win it 2-3-0, and the game's over within 25, 30 minutes, and you all love them. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's a great game and all that. But when you win in the last minute, let me tell you, like, you come out of there. Don't forget whether it's Bournemouth, Sheffield United.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It doesn't matter. The atmosphere completely changes from that point of view. You know, last minute goal against Man United, like, you know, it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Like you got against Liverpool. But that, if you'd have beaten Sheffield United 3-0, just say you've beaten Sheffield United 3-0, you walk out of the ground going, yeah, it was expected and all that. Like, but you've come out of the game against Sheffield United that, you know, on a crest of a wave, you know what I mean? Like, and it does help. It does help.
I think that was the difference. The reason why we went into the Arsenal game and got a result, obviously I can't guarantee this. It's just in my mind. I've said it all week. I was like, if we're going to get a result, it's probably because the players have got the wind in their sails, the wind at their back after that outcome. And that outcome is far more beneficial than a 4-0 drubbing where we smashed them and the game was null and like done after 25 minutes. That result puts that kind of extra little whatever it is going into the Arsenal game. And I think if we'd beaten Sheffield United 3-0, we probably would have lost to you lot. But because of that, the way the result
it's mad you say that.
Yeah, do you know, I totally agree with
We beat Forest 5-0 at home last year. 5-0, we smashed them. And the Bournemouth 3-2, in the last minute, and the Aston Villa 4-2 in the last minute. You know what that was like. Like it was unreal, wasn't it? You'll take them games over 5-0.
Of course you
Crazy,
will.
isn't it?
You remember those two games, like the Aston Villa and
Bournemouth.
and the Bournemouth game, more than the 5-0 win there, or you know, those sort of games. You do, you know what I mean?
It's character building as well.
Man,
Nicking it, like never giving up and going to the final whistle and winning at the end. For me, I'd take every day of the week over a 3-0 win.
you don't want to go through it, Henry. But if you know you're going to get the winner at the end,
The scenes at the Liverpool game. I've under Pochettino, we had some great atmospheres, but that game against Liverpool, the atmosphere afterwards in the stadium was electric. It was absolutely
because you've beaten one of the big boys. I think like last minute goal against Man United, Arsenal, or you know, like they're those big goal, they're big moments. But listen, any last minute goal is great, and I do think it just ups the level, like, you know. I know like
there's a waiting that it kind of moves into the next. You beat
moves you into the next game. 100%.
Yeah. Facts, boys. We're going to leave it there. Absolute pleasure having both of you on. Sean, thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers, Sean. Great debut, my man.
Yeah, very good, man. How can people follow your content, bro?
Yeah, Spurs Talk Show, all one word, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all the various socials. I take my dog out for a walk every morning and I just talk about whatever's going on with Tottenham. Basically, it's a little bit different to most other channels, but that's Spurs Talk Show. Appreciate you guys having me. Really enjoyed it.
No, always, man. You're welcome to the show, man. And get used to Sean. Make sure you go over and follow his content. Spurs Talk Show. Henry, likewise, man. What you got coming up? How can people follow you, bro?
Yeah, just Henry Wright TV, all one word. If anyone wants to subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Tomorrow I've got 2 videos coming out. One talking about the director of football trying to poach from Villa, and one about Trevor Chalobah, because we're the links are floating around about him again. But obviously, pleasure with you two. Hopefully, we beat Luton and we're top of the league. You lot draw.
You going? Or, like, you know, I saw you at the game last week. I saw you was at the game last week. Like,
I got offered a ticket at £580. Sean's going. Yeah,
I'm going to Luton. Do you know how much I had to pay out of my pension to go to Arsenal? 650 quid. 650 quid for a ticket to go in the away section at Arsenal. It was worth every penny because it was an experience. So I haven't been to the Emirates before. For North
away with all of this, like, you know what I mean?
It's a disgrace. The tickets were 30 quid, 20 times the markup. I paid it.
You know how much the Luton tickets are going for? Luton tickets are going for £1,100.
The same website, £1,000, because I think that's because there's only 800 tickets available.
Yeah, that's the thing with Luton, isn't it? Like, you know, as much as it is, you've got like what Spurs normal away 3,000, 3,500. So you've got 3,000. Well, like 2,500 fans that go week in, week out away games, not being able to go to that game.
Luckily I'm not paying that money. I know someone who's managed to give me a ticket that's face value. So
well done.
I'm looking forward to Luton away.
Well done.
Yeah, could be good.
Yeah, Luton away. I don't think I'm going to bother with that one. I think that'll be.
I don't think I'll be getting a ticket for that. I think it's going to go at 45. I think then 45 plus. And
oh, really? Wow. That won't be us then. Big up, everyone. Great banter in the chat. Lots of Tottenham fans, lots of Arsenal fans giving it to each other. It's quite funny. Having a little look in there. Make sure you do go and follow these guys. Make sure you go follow Sean. Make sure you go follow Henry. If you do want to come follow myself, it's at Football's 12 Man Podcast. And obviously, make sure you like and subscribe to this one. Judges, I'll let you see us out. Thanks, mate.
All right. Also, everybody have a lovely weekend. Apart from no Spurs fans. See you later.